Every human being carries invisible scars within their heart, shaped by painful experiences and unresolved emotions. These emotional wounds are often hidden from the outside world, yet they quietly influence the way we think, act, and love. Sometimes they come from childhood, when trust was broken or love was withheld at moments we needed it most. At other times, they come from betrayal, rejection, or loss, leaving us with memories that echo long after the event has passed. Emotional wounds are not always obvious, but they show up in patterns of fear, avoidance, anger, or deep sadness. They shape how we see ourselves, convincing us that we are unworthy, unlovable, or destined to repeat cycles of pain. The first step toward healing emotional wounds is recognizing their presence instead of denying or burying them. Suppressing pain may provide temporary relief, but it keeps the wound open, silently bleeding into every corner of life. Healing begins with acceptance, acknowledging that what hurt us was real and meaningful, not something to be minimized. When we validate our own suffering, we create space for compassion instead of judgment toward ourselves. Compassion allows us to soften, to sit with the pain without letting it control or define who we are. It is in this gentleness that wounds begin to breathe, finding oxygen in our willingness to confront them. Another powerful step in healing is expressing the pain rather than hiding it in silence. Words spoken, tears shed, or feelings written in a journal act as medicine for an aching heart. Through expression, the weight of carrying silent pain lessens, making it easier to process and release. Seeking support is also crucial, because emotional wounds often need safe spaces where understanding replaces isolation. A trusted friend, a therapist, or a supportive community can offer validation that we are not broken beyond repair. Human connection reminds us that pain is part of the shared human journey, not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is another vital element, but it is often misunderstood and prematurely demanded of those who are hurting. True forgiveness is not forgetting the wound, but releasing the power it has to control our present and future. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves, freeing our heart from chains that bind it to past suffering. Along with forgiveness, cultivating gratitude helps reframe our focus from what was lost to what can still be built. Gratitude shifts our attention to small sparks of joy, reminding us that life still offers beauty despite the pain. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation and deep breathing, help anchor us when old wounds rise to the surface. These practices teach us to witness emotions without drowning in them, creating balance between feeling and detachment. Healing emotional wounds also involves rewriting the stories we tell ourselves about what happened. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims, we begin to recognize ourselves as survivors with strength born from adversity. Reframing the narrative transforms wounds into teachers, showing us resilience, empathy, and the capacity to grow. Healing is rarely linear, and setbacks do not mean failure. They are simply reminders that the journey takes time. Each step forward, no matter how small, proves that healing is possible and progress is being made. Sometimes creative expression becomes a powerful way to transform pain into art, music, or writing. Creativity allows emotions to flow in ways words cannot, turning suffering into something meaningful and beautiful. Movement practices such as yoga, dance, or mindful walking also help release emotions stored in the body. The body often remembers what the mind forgets, carrying trauma in tension, posture, and unspoken pain. By moving consciously, we allow the body to let go of what no longer serves us. Patience is essential because emotional wounds often resist quick fixes and require gentle persistence. Just as physical wounds need time to close and scar, inner wounds demand time to rebuild trust and strength. Along the journey, self-love becomes the foundation of all true healing. Self-love is not about ignoring flaws, but embracing our humanity with kindness and understanding. When we practice self-love, we replace harsh self-criticism with nurturing words that help wounds gradually close. Boundaries are another form of healing, protecting our energy from relationships or environments that reopen old wounds. Healthy boundaries remind us that we are worthy of safety, respect, and emotional stability. Without boundaries, old wounds are easily triggered, keeping us in cycles of repeated hurt. By saying no when necessary, we say yes to our healing and growth. Healing emotional wounds also involves learning to trust again, slowly opening the heart to love and connection. Trust does not return overnight, but with consistent kindness and safety, it grows stronger over time. Vulnerability is a brave step in this process, allowing others to see us without masks or defenses. Vulnerability creates intimacy, and intimacy fosters the closeness that helps wounds lose their sting. It is also important to remember that healing does not mean erasing the past. The past becomes part of our story, but it no longer defines the direction of our future. Healing means transforming wounds into wisdom and scars into reminders of how far we have come. Each scar tells a story of survival, strength, and the courage to keep moving forward. Along the path of healing, we may discover new passions or purposes born from our pain. Sometimes the things that hurt us most become the inspiration to help others in similar struggles. By turning pain into service, we create meaning that lifts both ourselves and those around us. Healing is also about balance, learning to honor both joy and sorrow without clinging to either. Life becomes richer when we accept the full spectrum of emotions instead of fearing them. This acceptance deepens our capacity for empathy, making us more compassionate toward the wounds of others. Sharing our journey helps break the silence around emotional pain, giving others permission to begin their own healing. When we speak openly about wounds, we normalize the truth that everyone carries pain and can recover. Hope plays a central role, keeping the flame alive, even when healing feels slow or distant. Hope whispers that tomorrow can be lighter, that wounds can eventually become sources of strength. With hope, we gather the courage to continue even when setbacks test our determination. Healing requires trust in the process, knowing that growth often happens quietly beneath the surface. Just like a seed hidden underground, transformation begins long before it is visible to the eye. Faith in the unseen allows us to endure, knowing that healing is unfolding even when we cannot measure it. Along this path, forgiveness of ourselves is equally important as forgiving others. Self-forgiveness frees us from shame and regret, allowing us to embrace our imperfect humanity. It reminds us that mistakes are not final sentences, but lessons guiding us toward wisdom. As we heal, joy begins to return, first in small moments and later as a steady companion. Joy emerges when we realize that pain no longer holds absolute power over our lives. With healing, love becomes easier to give and receive, flowing naturally instead of cautiously. Love replaces fear, teaching us that opening our hearts is worth the risk of being vulnerable. As love grows, old wounds fade, leaving behind lessons instead of lingering suffering. Healing is not about becoming someone new, but rediscovering the wholeness that was always within us. Beneath every wound lies the truth that we are resilient, worthy, and capable of renewal. The journey of healing emotional wounds is deeply personal, yet universally human. It connects us all in the shared experience of pain, recovery, and growth. When we commit to healing, we honor both our past and the future we are creating. And in the end, we discover that emotional wounds are not the end of our story, but the beginning of our transformation.